Hey guys, what's up? Happy Monday. I've got some stuff I want to talk about, and I just want to hang out for a little while. And I thought it'd be best to go impromptu live because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it or not. But here we are. We may as well spend some time together. I'm just gonna give people a minute to kind of filter in here. I was telling Victor, I was like, I'm just gonna film one more video and have it ready to go for the morning. He's like, oh, okay. And so then I was like, it's a lot easier to go live than it is to film a video. So I thought I would just go live. It's been like a hell of a day. Can I like tell you what? It's been like I've had so many ups and downs today. I've been really sad today for some reason. I just I like I there are days I'm like I filmed this like half-hour long video earlier where I was just like talking about all the reasons that I would never ever 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 recommend someone do YouTube. And I don't think I'm going to release it. I might post it exclusively on my locals so my locals members can see me cry. But maybe not so much publicly for you guys unless you want to join my locals, of course, because you can always join my locals, kb.locals.com. That's the best way to support my work. And if you're excited that I went for impromptu live stream thanks, you never know what's going to happen on impromptu live stream. I might cry. I might yell at someone. I might do an impromptu reaction video to something that will spur white nationalists to attack me for weeks on end. And if you want to see all those things happen, you can mount that like button. Because we're gonna have to counterbalance all of the dislikes that the white nationalists. So let's see. So some stuff I wanted to talk about, and I think we might do call-ins at some point as well. So if you guys want to call in and chat with me, we can do that too if we have interest in that. But there's definitely some stuff I want to talk about tonight. And if you have any like videos you want me to react to or things like that too, please feel free to suggest them. I will be paying I don't know how close attention to the chat, but I will be trying to pay close attention to the chat during the stream. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was so Myth Informed, who if you guys are not following Myth Informed on Twitter, you should be because one of the things they're doing is they're doing the very painful emotional labor of watching a whole bunch of CRT trainings and pulling out the most offensive, juicy bits. And so they actually post a lot of really interesting videos on their account. It's a great account. The guys that run it are awesome. And so they posted this one today of Robin DiAngelo basically talking about how companies should spend more money on diversity trainings, but this actually has a silver lining to it. And I wanted to talk about why. And that's kind of like the headline for tonight's impromptu live stream is why you don't actually really most of the time need to worry about critical race theory coming to your company because most of the time you really don't, and I'm going to explain why. I know I rail on this stuff like all the time, and I believe everything that I say, and I believe that critical race theory is bad for organizations. I think it disrupts the psychological safety of the team. Psychological safety is a fancy way of saying trust. It doesn't allow team members to trust one another, to support one another, to have each other's backs in good times and in bad. It actually it inspires people to turn against each other, to call each other out on every minor transgression. It calls out like microaggressions, all those sorts of things. So I do think that critical race theory is really bad in organizations, but I also think that it's one of those places that if I had to rank order the things that I'm worried about, I'm really worried about critical race theory in K through 12 schools. That is my number one. I'm really worried about it in the government. And by government, I'm including like military under that. I'm really worried about that. I'm worried about it in colleges and universities, but not as much because I think that society can function without colleges and universities. So there's that. I'm less worried about it in organizations. Number one, because organizations have a right to, I guess, screw things up. It's not something I would encourage, but they do have a right to do it. Number two, I think that eventually organizations will experience ramifications for critical race theory that they're not going to like, that is going to impact how they move forward with it. So there's a couple there's so they're way down on the list, even though like I am an organizational psychologist. This is kind of like my focus area, but I'm worried about it in different ways for them. So let's just play this video of Robin DiAngelo talking real quick, and hopefully the sound works out. And then I'm going to tell you guys why I'm not as worried potentially about organizations. And can someone just chat something in just so I know everything's working, because things kind of appear a little frozen on my end at the moment. So I think I'm kind of hoping things are working, because I'm appearing as frozen on like 3 different screens. So I just want to make sure before we start. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, looks like it's working. Oh, excellent. Thank you guys. All right, let me play this clip, and then we're going to talk about what it
for
means.
Our viewers, last year a study found that US companies spent $8 billion on diversity and inclusion, and diversity consultants earn somewhere in total, cumulatively, around half a billion a year. So I'm wondering, where's the evidence or data that you have, because you're the expert on this, I wonder, on those workshops, on diversity training, because a lot of people are cynical about that stuff. So I'm just wondering, how do we know it works?
Well, I don't think it does work if it's not sustained and consistent. So if it's a one-time thing, a check the box kind of approach, it's not going to keep going. It has to be sustained. And I really would have us question why we think there would be a simple answer or solution. We could take this workshop, or we should be able to take this workshop and figure out something as perennially complex and deep and enduring and highly adaptive as racism. It is highly adaptive. It responds to challenges, and it keeps on keeping on.
All right. So what she said, she was asked, how do we know this diversity training stuff really works? And she basically said, well, we kind of don't, and you need to invest more money and do more follow-up in order to like make sure it works. And she's actually right. She's right, but probably not for the reason that she thinks it is. Okay, so here is the number one reason that I'm not worried about critical race theory in most organizations. It's that, so when you're doing training work in organizations, this is something I did a lot of. I focused mostly on manager training. So one of my kind of key focus areas as an organizational psychologist was always like helping managers to get better at managing people. How do you create great work environments? How do you know what motivates people? How do you know what pisses people off? How do you know what drags them down? How do you support effective teamwork? How do you give feedback effectively? How do you do one-on-one meetings? How do you help people reduce their stress so they can be more productive? All those things. And so I built out this whole manager training module, and I would go to organizations and do the manager training module. I would do it online sometimes, I do it in person sometimes, whatever. So the reason I bring that up in reference to the diversity training is when you're training people in organizations, it's not a matter of, if you do something one time, you're going to have a little bit of a short-term boost in that thing, but long term, it's not really going to make much of a difference. It's really not, because you need to have the follow-up. And anytime I was do trainings with organizations, and again, mostly around the manager training piece, I would always say to them when they were hiring me, I was like, we can do this training, but what would make it really effective is if we had like a 1 month out check in, 3 month, 6 month, a year. We create different accountability structures to get managers in the habit of doing the things that they should be doing. We provide ongoing coaching, stuff like that. So I would always try to like upsell them, like, we can do this one thing and it's going to be good, but we could do this really much bigger thing and it's going to be awesome. Now, part of the reason you do that is because you want to make the most of every consulting agreement that you can. You want to make money, right? And the corporate consulting's really lucrative, man. It's really lucrative. Yeah, some people have like a 2-year plan. They're like there are all these long-term plans. But the real reason I would always present that option is honestly because I can go in and do the most kick-ass half day or full day workshop and blow their minds with all the possibilities of how to be awesome managers and things like that. But if there's no follow-up, people don't instill the habits. And when you're talking about doing training in any environment, really, but again, organizations is my sweet spot. When you're talking about that, what you're talking about is actually helping people to develop new habits. helping them to do things differently, helping them to change behaviors over the long term. And that requires follow up. Like they say, it takes 30 days to build a habit, but I actually generally find that it's more around like the 90-day mark that habits really start to change. And that's because people fuck up. To be very brass tacks about it, because it's impromptu live stream, we can be brass tacks. Like people fuck up. They make mistakes. They go back to the old way of doing things. Like, think about the easiest example to come back to is like always like going to the gym or being on a diet or something like that. Like, think about like after New Year's and like everyone's excited and they're all going back to the gym and they're going back like every day until about 2, 3 weeks after January 1st. And everyone's like, I don't really want to go back to the gym this much. Or they start a new diet and they're eating perfectly for like the first week or two. And then that 2 to 3 week mark, they get out of the habit of doing it. Well, it's the same thing with everything else. If we don't constantly like reinforce behavior and give ourselves reasons to be engaging in that behavior, we're probably not going to do it. We're probably going to default to going back to doing the thing we were before, even if we think the new thing is better. And it all has to do with just habit and behavior change and how our brain is hardwired. Like, from a purely practical perspective, it takes about 30 days for new neurotransmitters to be formed in our brain. So, anytime you're developing a new habit, it is about like actually like a physical change taking place in your brain. It's not just an intellectual thing. It's about your brain will actually change form as you're developing new habits. And so, am I worried about organizations that bring Robin DiAngelo in for like a day and do nothing else after that for diversity training? No, because they're going to get a little short term boost and people are going to be extra uppity and extra call outy for a little while. And then everyone's going to forget and they're going to go back to the same way they were doing it before. Now, this is not the sexy answer. And I know people don't like the unsexy answer, right? They just don't. But this is the answer that I have, is that when you're talking about organizations that are doing like a one-off training just to appease their most woke employees of the bunch, you usually just don't have to worry about it having long-term impact. And I think that people need to be realistic about this, because honestly, I'm very reticent. I just finished writing a book that's all about fighting back against critical race theory. You guys are going to be hearing a lot more about the book as we get closer to publication. I sent it off to the publisher, but there's a whole chapter about the work environment. And, I did different chapters and made recommendations for like practical ways people could fight back. And the work one was actually the hardest one for me to write, purely because I want to give people, I don't want people to lose their job because I'm telling them to be alarmist. That's it at the end of the day. It's like, your job is not something you screw around with. And I know that a lot of times people believe in having like these big hero moments where they go in and they tell off the boss. And listen, man, I had like, on one of my jobs that I absolutely hated, it was at New Hampshire Public Radio. I resigned in epic fashion. I told them, well, I didn't resign. I got myself fired. I got myself purposefully fired. But like, I went out the door in like the best blaze of glory that has ever been gotten. It felt so good. I have no regrets about it. I've actually told the story on this channel. It was amazing. And so calling out your boss and telling off your boss can be a really amazing feeling. I'm not gonna lie. It's like awesome. It's like it was like the best thing that ever happened. But like, here's the thing. I had a plan when I got myself fired from that job. Like, I had a plan. I had a backup. I was gonna do my business full time. But not everyone can do that, and not everyone can afford to lose a job at the drop of a hat purely to push back on doing a diversity training that at the end of the day, it might not actually have the impact you think it does. So when I wrote that chapter in my book, I felt like I was giving like the lamest suggestions. I was like, you can try to ask carefully worded questions. You can try to find people in the office to create social support so you know you're not alone and things like that. But I'm so, for as much as I run my mouth, and Lord knows I do enough of that, I do actually try to be pretty responsible in the advice that I'm giving people, and I try to be pretty responsible in my positions. And I don't think it's a responsible position to say go in and raise holy hell just because your organization brings in a bad diversity trainer. I don't think it's a responsible thing to do, and I don't want the advice that I give people to result in them losing their job out of nowhere and them not having a way to pay their mortgage or feed the kids or any of those things. Because taking care of yourself in your internal and your like security is important, right? Um, so that's like the advice I have is to, first start to put it in the big picture. Start to make sure that like you understand what you're working with. And if what you're working with your organization is doing like a one-off training where it's like a half day training or like a full day training and you have to go to a workshop and you have to listen to some stupid stuff and you have to you know, write a confession about your inherent racism or whatever, if that is all your organization is doing, you're probably going to be okay. It's probably going to be fine. They're probably just doing it to appease people, right? And so we have to have this perspective when we're fighting back. It's like you got to live to fight another day. And I would much rather at the end of the day you guys be fighting back in your kids' schools, like the K through 12 schools, or fighting for school choice, or fighting to pass one of the divisive concept bills, or, fighting in those ways that are not going to result in you losing your job. I would much rather you do that knowing that you have the internal security of a paycheck. Because once that paycheck gets taken away, then all bets are off. Then you're taken off the playing field entirely because you got to go figure out a way to, feed your family and take care of yourself and all of those things. If you have your own security in place, then you're able to better fight for other people. And so I want to give people that context. It feels like the responsible thing to do. T Rose says you might have to write a confession. Yeah, you might have to write a confession if you're doing diversity training. And I wouldn't like sign as I wouldn't like if a diversity trainer wants you to like sign a confession that you're a racist, I wouldn't put my name to that. I'd be like, nope, I politely decline. But but again, it's like one of those things that most of the time with this training, you can kind of like nod and smile and get through it and say what you need to say, knowing that if they're only doing a one off training, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So I wanted to provide that advice for what it's worth. Again, I know it's not like the sexy answer, and sometimes people only want like the sexy, like uppity solutions. But sometimes we also need to just be practical and do practical things and pay bills. And a job helps you do those things. All right. Want to acknowledge some super chats. Naruto, if you want to react to something horrible, go look at tweet I tagged you in at your own risk. Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'll go check that out in a second. Dragon Water says mount that like button. Guys, please mount the like button. I appreciate it. All right. All right. Let me just take a look in the chat. I've got some other news articles pulled up. The other day on Glenn Beck's radio show, Ben Shapiro said people should form their own anti-CRT coalition. Yeah, I generally actually agree with that. I think that the best way to fight back against critical race theory and the woke is by doing it in your internal, in like your local community with people that you know. Because that's going to make much more of a difference, to be honest about it. Like I can talk about critical race theory like all day, every day on the internet and help people understand what it is and help people understand how it shows up in their lives. But the thing that's going to make the most difference, one woman told me, she said to me, she was like, I created a YouTube channel to talk about this stuff, but I didn't create it because I wanted like a lot of people to see it. I wanted just create videos that I could send to my friends and to my family and to help them understand what I'm seeing. So she just basically wanted to talk. She wanted to talk kind of like I'm talking to you guys in the chat right now. She just wanted to talk about what she was seeing and make videos for her friends and family to help them understand what they were seeing. And that was her use for her YouTube channel. She didn't want to be YouTube famous. She was smart. No one should want to be YouTube famous. I don't even want to be YouTube famous. But like she was just doing it. She was using the technology and the infrastructure to help her do things in other ways. And I actually think that that was one of the smartest strategies I've heard, to have someone just making like personal videos about like what critical race theory means to them and how they're seeing it show up and what's happening in their kids schools, and doing it in a way where you're sending it out to your friends and your family, your neighbors, people who know you, people who know you're not an unreasonable person. I think that that's a really, really, really terrific way to fight back. Tony asks, "Am I going to go back on Adam's show?" I mean, if you ask me, like, you know, I will always. I still need to finish Adam's sweater. He's probably mad that I haven't finished his sweater. But to be fair to me, like, I honestly haven't even really been knitting in the past 2 months. Like, this project that's sitting on my desk, like, I started this project at the beginning of June, and it's still not done. It's still like, so I'm sorry, Adam, I haven't finished your sweater. I haven't been knitting. I was writing a book. It took all my time and all my energy and made me insane because I had to think about critical race theory for 16 hours a day. But the book turned out awesome. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited for you guys to get it. Obviously, it's not coming out tomorrow or anything. It's going to be many months, but because that's just the way publishing works. But I'm really excited about the book, and I think you guys are going to be really excited about it. Um, yeah. So the dream code is in exactly the same state in which I left it. I honestly, I like the only thing I need to do with the dream code is there's a big stripe up the back, and that's the last piece of it that I need to do, and then I need to add some trim. But it's pretty much done except for that piece. I just haven't been knitting because I was writing a book. I was writing a book, okay? I was writing a book to try to help people. It was an awful experience. No, it was fine. It was fine. All right, so let me just look at real quick. I'm going to look at this Naruto, I'm going to look at your tweet and see if there's anything I want to react to. I have other news too. And guys, we'll do some call-ins. We will do some call-ins. And if you guys want to come on and chat, we can do that. Naruto, can you just do me a solid and DM me the tweet that you were telling me about? So I can find it real quick. That would be really, 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 really helpful, and I appreciate it. Dragonwater said, the book got you going during the call-in shows. I hope you're well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited that the book is done, to be honest, because, like, I thought I was going to finish the book about 3 weeks earlier than I did. And then it was honestly, guys, it was like the white supremacist stuff. It was like when that all happened, I saw a whole new side. First of all, like, I truly was not aware that that whole situation is as bad as it is, and it's worse than people think it is, because now I've looked into it, and it's worse than people think it is, and I think that's going to come and bite us at some point, and people aren't going to be ready for it because no journalist will do the goddamn work. I spoke to like 4 different journalists, and none of them will actually do the thing, even though like some of them have said like, yeah, we see it too, but they're just not covering it because they're not. Because they're not. And it's not that they don't see it, and it's not that it's not newsworthy. They're just not covering it, and that really frightens me. But I'm not a journalist. I feel like I have done my due diligence on this one, and I took it on the goddamn chin. And so that's how I feel about that. But so this was all happening right when I was finishing the book, and so it was just like it gave me a whole new view of that situation, and plus, it honestly changed how I view the political right. It does, because their whole reaction to me saying I will not say critical race theory is anti-white, it was so disproportional and so ridiculous that it completely changed my perception of the entire situation. And so I had to kind of like I had to reassess. I had to reassess some of the things I said in that book, and I had to really think through the arguments I was making, and I ended up writing some like rewriting parts of it in completely new ways um based on the new information, because it all happened around the same time, but it had to be done, and glad I'm actually glad it worked out that way. But okay, let me see. Let me see what Naruto sent me. No, I'm not reacting to that. I can't put that on YouTube. I can't put that on YouTube. You want to give me another strike, dude? No. No, I'm not putting that on YouTube. I'm sorry. No. No, that is not going to happen. All right, let me show you guys some other stuff. So I saw this article today. Colorado students are being fed the poison fruits of critical race theory. This is in the Denver Post, and they're talking about the writings of Foucault and Derrida aren't being read by third graders, but the insidious theory is pervasive in equity teachings. And I don't want to read this whole article because it's like a little bit convoluted, but I wanted to just go down right here. So closer to home, the Douglas County School District recently enacted a new equity policy. And we all know, right, that anytime they're saying equity, critical race theory and equity are like this. You cannot separate the two. So I've seen some school board meetings recently where like school principals or superintendents, they'll get up and they'll say, we're not doing critical race theory. We are doing equity, and we have an equity committee, but we're not teaching critical race theory. No. Critical race theory and equity are like this. You cannot have equity without there being components of critical race theory taught. And when I'm saying critical race theory is taught, I'm obviously not saying that the whole law school thing is taught, like the ideologies that exist in law schools. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the tenets of critical race theory. If you're teaching equity, which is equality of outcomes versus equality of opportunity, then you are teaching critical race theory. Yes, Kieran is my extremist nutritionist. Thank you, Kieran. He keeps me up to date with hate literature. Dragon water. It's really tricky to deal with people when they don't feel like they're allowed to express their pain. It's a dangerous razor blade to thread. I mean, I agree with you, Dragon water. I agree, and to some extent, like I do feel. Here's my position with the right now. We'll come back to this article in a sec. I'm gonna bring myself full screen. Here's my position with the right now is I understand that they're angry, and but they're really angry, and it's making it extremely difficult for me to be on there, for me to support them in any way. Honestly, like the Republicans got extremely angry after the inauguration, and I can understand it, but when they're manifesting that by attacking me, I'm not gonna deal with that, man. I'm not gonna deal with it. I feel like they've gotten so angry, and I understand that they feel like they don't have like no one has their back and no one's standing up for them, and they can't say what they think, and they're censored and they're banned and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if they're manifesting that by attacking people that are like ostensibly on their team for not meeting some sort of purity test, then they get what they flipping deserve. I'm sorry. I am sorry. That's how I feel about it. Like I gave up so much to fight back against this crap because I thought it was the right thing to do in the noble fight. And I get attacked worse from the right these days than I do the left. That's their own choice, man. They're adults. They're making choices for themselves. Can't control that. But let's talk about this article. Okay, let's bring that back up. Okay, so they're enacting this new equity policy, which we know when we see equity, we have to think critical race theory, and when we see critical race theory, we need to see equity because it's all about equality of outcomes, not equality of opportunities, because they're trying to destabilize the system because they want to enact their little Marxist paradise. So they paid the Gemini Group $37,000 for training for its execution of their equity policy. In a May training on systemic racism, implicit bias, equity, intersectionality, oppression, and microaggressions, Gemini consultants made it clear that equality is good, but equality also will not get us to equity. Well, they're right about that. Equity is about outcomes, and inequitable outcomes are the result of racist policies and implicit biases. Guys, bonus points in the chat. Who knows where this idea comes from? Who knows where this idea comes from that any disparity in outcomes, any inequitable outcomes are the result of racist policies and implicit bias? Who knows where that comes from? Pop quiz, guys. Let's see who's been paying attention. Six Semper Tyrannius says, when elements of the right start looking like the left, how can one justify replacing one form of hate with another form of hate? It's Spider-Man's meme. Yeah, you're right about that. And this is my big problem with it is like, I left the left for a reason. And people can like people can like talk like Carlin changed her party like 3 times in a year, which is true. But like I left the left for a reason. I didn't leave the left to join the left on the right. I'm sorry. Like no, my tolerance for that is going to be naturally much lower. All right. So Peel says Bell. Actually, Derek Bell may have said it. I haven't read Derek Bell. I probably should. But says Semper Tyrannius got it. Ibram X Kendi. It's Kendi, baby. It's Kendi. That's who I was thinking of. Let's see. Dragonwater says, I agree, I think. I'm not defending the right. Really, what I am more worried about than anything at this point will create supremacist movements. I'm worried about it too, man. I'm worried about it too. I am very, very, very worried about the white identitarian stuff that I've seen. And I think it's going to get bad. And no one's doing anything about it. And no one's investigating it. And no one's reporting on it. And I think it's going to get bad. And that scares me. But I'm not a journalist. This is not my job. I accidentally kicked a hornet's nest. And now we need journalists to actually step up and act like journalists. And no one's been inclined to do that just yet. We'll see if they are. Naruto says, that's like saying I'm a Catholic, but not a Christian. All right, let's keep going with this article. So if you want to be the visionary leader that this city needs, talk about what educational equity means. Let's just think about that for a second. Educational equity. You know what I think of when I think of the term educational equity? I think of Harrison Bergeron. Who's read Harrison Bergeron in the chat? Type Y if you've read Harrison Bergeron. You know what I'm talking about. Educational equity. Says the chief academic officer at Strive Prep, a Denver public schools charter school. Alicia said in a public forum, it means rich white. Oh, check this out. It means rich white families in this city giving up something. It means reallocating resources to our black and brown schools. It means providing opportunities for educational equity for our black and brown educators. And that means potentially paying them more for being black and brown in our cities, in our schools. She literally just advocated. What does she do again? She is a chief academic officer at a public school or a charter school in Colorado. And she's advocating for paying black and brown people, educators, more just because they're black and brown. That sounds like a violation of the 1964 Civil Rights Act to me. But yeah, so it looks like Alexandra in the chat is the only one who knows about Harrison Bergeron. So Harrison Bergeron is a short story by Kurt Vonnegut. And actually, I was thinking about, guys, so I just barely, Kieran helped me test this out, actually. I just barely figured out how we can do movie night in locals. I have a tool that we can log on to and do a watch party. And there's actually a movie version of Harrison Bergeron, and it's on YouTube. And I was thinking our very first locals movie night should be this Harrison Bergeron movie because it's awesome. It's like not as good as the story, obviously, because they never are. But the whole idea behind Harrison Bergeron is like it was a society built on equity. It's a society built on keeping everyone at the same mediocre level. And so when it came to schools, what they would actually do is they would try to get the students to get C on their homework or on their quizzes because C is average. You don't want people to get A's, right? If they get A's, they're overachievers. If they get D's or F's, they're underachievers. So they want everyone to be at the C average. So what did they do for the smarter kids? But they made the smarter kids wear these headbands that would like fuzzy up their thinking so they couldn't perform as well on tests and things like that. So they were literally dumbing down the smartest kids in the class. Right? That's what they mean by educational equity. Is they are going to dumb down the smartest, most accomplished people among us to the mediocre level, but it's going to reduce disparities. That's the only way you reduce disparities. It's not about helping everyone up to the highest level of achievement because you can never account for that. Right? You can't account for if people are going to work hard, if they're going to show up, if they're going to try, if they're going to put in their best effort. You cannot account for individual merit, essentially. Like a dumb person can show up, do their homework, work, like read all the things, study, and they can get up to like an A, like a B or an A level, usually an A level 'cause it's like easy to get A's now. But they can do pretty well. Like a dumb person can show up and work hard and do really well. A smart person can choose not to show up and not do the homework and not do the reading and do really shitty, right? So you can never account for individual merit and work ethic in these things. And so when we're talking about equity, it's not about lifting everyone up. It's about pulling the smartest people down, right? So that's what they're talking about with educational equity. They're literally talking about pulling the smartest students down. So maybe we'll do Harrison Bergeron movie night in locals because now I know how to do it. As if we don't have enough to do all locals already, but maybe we can do that sometime this week as like a nice little, as like a fun activity. All right. And guys, if you haven't joined my locals, kv.locals.com/support. That's how you join it. The information's down there somewhere. All right, let's like look at a little bit more in this article. Among DPS's equity practice, the district created belong groups that are intentional spaces for people with similar backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences to gather, celebrate, and create community. They're groups for teachers who are Black, Asian, Latinx, LGBTQ+, and deaf/hard of hearing, as well as teachers of Black students and teachers who are single parents or have blended families. For people who don't belong in the belong group. Holy shit. So I hadn't read this whole article. Oh my God, check this out. Check this out. For people who don't belong in these belong groups, there is a deconstructing privilege belong group that will provide all, especially white staff members, a space to recognize and deepen their understanding of the implications of whiteness, privilege, racism, and oppression. So if you don't belong to an oppressed group, they make you go to re-education training. Oh my God. This is real. They spent $37,000 on this. This is real. Oh my God. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, that's the result of Marxism. Bring everyone down to the same level instead of lifting people up in any aspect of society. Oh my God. What the hell is a belong group, says Janice. These are equity groups. These are equity. Let's read it again. Among DPS's equity practice, the district has created belong groups that are intentional spaces for people with similar backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences to gather and celebrate and create community. And what they really mean by people with similar backgrounds is you all look alike. Can we talk about how racist that is for a second? You all look alike, therefore you must have similar backgrounds and beliefs and experiences because you all look alike. And then they're segregating out. So they have belong groups for Black, Asian, Latinx, LGBTQ+, deaf/hard of hearings, as well as teachers of Black students. So if you're a white teacher but you have Black students, you get your belong group. Teachers who are single parents and have blended families, but for everyone else, they have a deconstructing privilege belong group that will provide all, especially white staff members, a way to recognize and deepen their understandings of the implications of whiteness, privilege, racism, and oppression. I can't with this. Six Emperor Tyrania says, sounds like white only and colored only. Well, it does sound like segregation, doesn't it? Well, haven't you heard segregation is now in? Segregation is good again. Let's keep going. Understandably, parents at Front Range schools are alarmed about the impact of CRT on the schools and their students. Rachel told me that her son's class was given a privilege checklist so they could reckon with their unearned perks of their identity. Students also read, So You Want to Talk About Race?, which contends that America is systemically racist. The book covers topics such as microaggressions, intersectionality, and cultural appropriation, among others. Maybe we should read that book. We should probably read that book. The impression her son took away is that all white people are racist, all men are sexist, racism is everywhere, slurs against white people are acceptable, and it is okay to stereotype white people. DPS parent Anne was concerned when her son's school proclaimed during a parent open house event the school would henceforth be an anti-racism institution. Anti-racism and critical race theory are also entwined. Can't separate the two. You have one, you have the other. She is unsure what that means or how the commitment will impact the school's existing foundational core principles of respect, responsibility, integrity, courage, curiosity, and doing your best. While under anti racist ideology, doing your best is actually a tool of white supremacy. So that's how that's going to impact that school value. Doing your best is a tool of white supremacy. It is too. The Smithsonian told me so. The Smithsonian said that hard work and meritocracy are attributes of a white supremacist society. Teacher and mom Amanda described a recent National Council of Teachers of Mathematics workshop she attended. Okay, pause. National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. She's a math teacher. Math. Let's read about this. That explicitly mentioned critical race theory and invoked the belief in a culture of whiteness. As a Hispanic educator who is earning a PhD, she resents the insinuation that a Hispanic woman is oppressed. Amanda is concerned that her district is adopting an equity policy that assumes the notions of white privilege. There are plenty of white students from hard backgrounds who are marginalized, she says. CRT contradicts the idea that every student is unique, precious human being who has talents and interests and who faces challenges in reaching his or her potential. Some students do have more challenges than others. And unfortunately, race is one of those challenges in a society that is not colorblind. Of course, we should provide resources to help students overcome these challenges, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they quoted Pluckrose and Lindsay. So you know this person knows what's up. You can tell this person reads Lindsay because he's using, like, this person's talking about the same philosophers that he talks about. But that's really it. That's all I wanted to show for this article. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Apparently, too, here's another article I saw. This is from New Hampshire Public Radio, the public radio station I got myself fired from. How the critical race theory debate came to Hollis and Brookline. I actually know how it came to Hollis and Brookline. You want to know how? Because I spoke at the Hollis Parents Association. That's how it came to Hollis and Brookline NHPR. They had me on a website and everything. For Hollis Brookline student Alex Putney, the debate over diversity and inclusion efforts at her high school took a turn in July 2020. Local residents had submitted a proposal to the school to make anti-racism and equity a strategic priority in local schools. Putney, one of the few biracial students at the mostly white high school, thought this resolution was a great idea. But not everyone did. Like, NHPR probably should have just put, like, lightning in the background, like a thunder, like, the evil racist parents did not think that anti-racism was a good idea. At a school board meeting, the chairman of the Hollis Select Board says he has not witnessed systemic racism in his 15 years as a town official. A mother from Brookline worried it would teach kids who don't see color to be racist. As Putney watched the live stream from her home, she started texting her friends. She asked them to write down incidents of racism, sexism, and other biases they experienced or heard about throughout our school. So a high school student wants to talk about her lived experiences. All right. We wanted to disprove the narrative in the community that there isn't racism in Hollis, Brookline. The towns of Hollis and Brookline are dotted with farmland, pricey houses, and some of the best performing schools in New Hampshire. They're over 90% white, and in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder last year, the school set out to become one of the more inclusive schools for students of color and those with other marginalized identities. But a year in, the districts are embroiled in a debate that has shaken school boards and state legislatures far beyond New Hampshire. How schools should teach kids about racism, race, and privilege. This is a really rich school district, by the way. Hollis, money. Money, honey. So basically, there's a group of uppity parents is essentially what's going on. And I'm not going to read this whole article because NHPR is probably doing a hit piece on them because that's what NHPR does. Yeah, see, like they're lying. They're lying. I know NHPR, I know you're lying. I've spoken to the parents in Hollis, dude. You are liars. Liars. Critical race theory influences some anti-bias trainings for teachers, but when NHPR reviewed hundreds of pages about professional development trainings attended by Hollis Brookline teachers over the last 2 years, less than a dozen focus explicitly on oppression, cultural sensitivity, and racial inequity. None focused explicitly on critical race theory. What they're talking about there is this thing they do where they're like, "We don't teach critical race theory. Critical race theory is only taught in law schools. We don't know what you're talking about. We're just teaching equity," which they admit right there, which we know that you can't have one without the other because we pay attention to these things. Melissa, this is creepy AF, yet also beginning to feel like a Monty Python skit. It's probably best to treat it as a Monty Python skit if we're honest about it. Probably best. Probably best. Look at this. Marcia Donaldson, a white resident of Hollis. Why do they have to note that she's white? Says one of the contributors to AboutHollis.com. So this is the first time she's got involved in school politics. I'm very concerned about education and what children are being taught. CRT is Marxist. Now we know why they made a point to say that she's white, because she doesn't like critical race theory. They didn't make did they talked about that student's race. They said she was biracial. She. Let's see. Did they talk about anyone else? Not that I'm seeing so far. Well, CRT draws on a variety of theorists across disciplines, including the writings of... Holy shit! Dude. NHPR is admitting that critical race theory is Marxist. I need to screenshot this. Well, CRT draws on a variety of theorists across disciplines, including the writings of Karl Marx. Scholars of the theory say it's reductive to claim that CRT is only Marxist. Well, isn't that convenient? Donaldson says that even if CRT isn't taught in Hollis Brookline, it is. Her goal is to keep it out before it invades. AboutHollis.com did not respond to NHPR's request for... Am I still on AboutHollis.com? Let me just look this up. I definitely was at one point. Oh, look at this. Oh, I spoke at this. I spoke at this event right here. Look at this. I'm just looking for myself. I'm just being a narcissist at this point and looking for myself. Oh, man. They've done a good job. Holy crap. There I am. See, told you I was on the website. There I am. Critical race theory in New Hampshire. What is it and why it matters? Dr. Karlin Borisenko. Told you I'd find myself. Michael says, money, honey. It's reductive to say that CRT is only Marxist. It's also Leninist and Stalinist. Indeed. Michael, thanks for that super chat. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, it draws from Marxist theories, but it's not Marxist. It's the same as saying ice is not water. Indeed. I am shocked. I am literally shocked that NHPR admitted that it's Marxist. Whereupon New Hampshire Public Radio admits that critical race theory is Marxist. Screenshot captured. All right, guys. I got some other stuff we could talk about, but why don't we do some call-ins? Does anyone want to do some call-ins? Let's do some call-ins. So how call-ins work is I'm going to put a link into the chat, and you can come on, and so you can come on. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to, but you do need a microphone of some sort so I can hear you, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But you get like 5 minutes. I'm gonna lay down some rules. You like it's not gonna be we're not gonna have a full half-hour conversation unless you're really interesting, and then we might have a full half-hour conversation. But usually it's gonna be about 5 minutes. We can talk about whatever subject you want. Trolls are welcome. I haven't actually gotten as many trolls as I want to on these things. And so if you're a troll and you want to tell me if you want to tell me off, you can come on and do a call in, man. Just, be polite. You can still tell me off and be polite. Okay, for call-ins. All right, so I just posted the link in the chat and I'm going to pin it to the top of the chat when it comes up. Okay, there it is. And just click on that link and you'll be able to join and I'll be able to bring you on for a call-in. Now, we do have a couple rules for call-ins. Let me just get my rules up. Rule number 1 is you are invited as a guest on my stream. I reserve the right to boot your ass off my stream at any time for any reason, completely at my discretion. Number 2, be polite. You can hate me. You can tell me off. Just be polite, and you will have a significantly lower chance of getting booted off the stream at any moment. Number 3, each caller who follows the first 2 rules will be given roughly 5 minutes to have a conversation. And unless we're having a really interesting conversation, and then I'm going to, extend it at my discretion. But, you get 5 minutes. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And then we can go from there. All right. We have our normal caller to start us off. But if you guys want to join, go ahead, click the link at the top of the chat. I'd love to talk to as many of you who want to come on. And we're going to start off with one of my favorites. Janice.
I'm one of your favorites, eh? That's good. At least I'm somebody's favorite.
Well, of course, you do send me nice pictures in my DMs, and I appreciate
I'm
those.
sorry I have not been doing that. I spent 4 hours yesterday reinstalling an operating system, a job that usually only takes me about an hour, maybe a half hour. I have no idea what went wrong, and it actually tired me out.
Oh no!
I'm not joking. I'm not like upset or anything. I'm like, it literally, I was out. So I curled up into a cat ball and took a cat nap. Any road. I was just explaining to user Seek Semper Tyrannis, I think is his name, about how I'm doing some programming stuff at the moment, so I've been thinking in terms of programming. Critical race nonsense, as I like to call it, is a Trojan horse virus for the brain, and it gets in by saying, oh, it's it can either say, oh, it's anti-white to appeal to one group, or, oh, it's not racist, it's just rebranding history. See, and the brain can't pick up that it's really a Trojan horse virus, so it sneaks in there and then it gets you. Over time. It doesn't just happen, right then and there.
Well, Janice, so Cuber in Locals was posting some really interesting videos about cults today, so maybe it aligns with that. You should go watch those videos from Locals.
I've really got to tell you guys a story about myself and the Jehovah's Witnesses sometime.
Oh, no.
Speaking of cults.
Oh, no.
No, it was good for me because now I know that most of my childhood was cult-based upbringing. And now I know what a cult is really like. So if I ever create a cult in my version of the Spyro series, I'll know how to accurately portray and depict them.
I actually really appreciated the hustle of the Jehovah's Witnesses when the pandemic first started, because I started getting handwritten notes. They couldn't come and knock on my door. They started sending handwritten notes.
I was going to be one of the people that did that because I am disabled. No, I'm not using that as an excuse. Being that I live on a slanted roadway where it's kind of on a hill, it would take a lot more out of me than anyone average, because I have mild cerebral palsy, to walk around knocking on doors like that. So the guy I was studying with said that I could write letters. Oh, that's fine. I guess I'll do that. Well, and then as you know, I started having these trauma dreams about them taking me back to the hospital, the DA hospital. And then I was like, okay, I'm screwing up at work. I'm not on my game. I'm not with it. I've got to get out of here. But what I did, I didn't, yell at anybody. I didn't blow up necessarily until the very end, because they said something extremely hurtful to me, which was out of character for them. But I just waited. I read the book, The Art of War, and I waited for them to make the first strike. I waited for them to actually pull out real live ableism, make real life ableistic remarks against me. And then I told them exactly what they can do with themselves, and I slammed the Kingdom Hall door.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, Janice. That's what we want to do. Got to stand strong, set those boundaries, you want them to set themselves up too, which is important.
And that's what I was waiting to do. And I've been wanting to tell you about that since we met for some strange reason, because I find it highly entertaining that this one thing that I needed from them, the one time I needed them to be ironically a little flexible because I had engagements with somebody to help me with a computer job, they couldn't be flexible. And here I am, the one on the spectrum who in the diagnostic criteria is said to be inflexible and rigid.
Oh, so you really showed them up then.
And pretty much, yeah. The point I'm making, though, back to what I was saying, is that this thing is a mental virus.
Yes, it is.
One of the references I made to Seek Semper Tyrannis was to a Saturday morning cartoon show known as Reboot. That was the first computer animated cartoon show that was all about, beings living inside of a computer, kind of like Tron. And I said, I've said this to you before, I don't think of myself as a victim. No. I'm a warrior.
Yes.
I'm a warrior. I'm a guardian. I mend and defend. I fight for the user. I actually do fight for the underdog.
And that's why I like you, Janice. You've always got a good attitude. You've got a good outlook. You've got good energy.
Yeah, and so, sometimes, I have seasonal depression, so sometimes it gets to me, but it doesn't last long. I've told you, it's like Gilgamesh going into the underworld. Gilgamesh goes into the underworld to chase after the flower of immortality. And once, when I was around 20-ish, when I framed it that way and stopped being a teenager that wanted to blow the world up because of the way things were, I just want to push the red button. Well, I got out of that and I started rereading mythology, and I started getting into Carl Jung and Bill Moore and all those people, and I started asking myself, well, why do I like stuff like Star Wars? Well, that's because I'm living out a myth.
Exactly. I like that. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
all right.
I agree.
Right. Janice, we got a whole bunch of people in line, so we're going to call it.
Yeah, you're popular today, Carla. That's awesome.
I know.
Take care. Much love.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Naruto says, Wright needs to go back and reread Addicted to Outrage. I think that's Glenn Beck's book. I have that book. If we're talking about the same one, I agree. That is a great book. That is a fantastic book. All right, guys. So for everyone waiting to call in, we have 5 people right now in line, and I'm just going to tell you what order I see you in because this is the order I'm going to take you in. So we have Nick, we have George, we have Dragonwater, we have Casper, and then we have Jamie. And if anyone else would like to get in line to call in, you will be added to the stream in the order in which you call in. So if you want to get on, now's the time to do it. We got 5 people in front of you, and we're going to go to Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Miss Caroline. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. And hi to Janice Hill. I am Seek Semper Tyrannis, and everybody knows me as Nick in the rules.
Awesome.
Yes. So, I've always been trying to get on the locals to actually introduce myself and all that. I can never figure out how to raise the hand. So when I call in, I just figure out what the button was. So now I can do it. Yay! But good. I really like that last debate that we saw between Jess and Ornov.
Yeah, that was good. I'm going to get that uploaded. So for people who don't know, so we do a debate club in my locals community. And so I need to get the recording uploaded for supporters so everyone who wasn't there could see it. But what did you thought it was a good debate?
Oh, I thought it was hell of a debate. And I say to Ornov, if I didn't know any better, he was a leftist. He did a great job and all that. But, I mean, it's just he used the same arguments that literally actual leftists try to use. They try to throw you off, just go to name call that. Actually, I'm in a group that's called on Facebook. They're a left-wing echo group that my cousin, invited me to, because they call themselves Thunderdome and all that. And they tried to gang pile onto me. And we got talking about Ibram X. Kenny and his comment about, if racist, if equity, no, oh my God, how does the comment goes where you talk about if if discrimination creates inequity, it's racism. If it's creates equity, it's anti-racism.
Yeah.
So, and they kept saying they're okay for discrimination, and they didn't realize. I was like, you're just replacing one form of discrimination with another form of discrimination. It's still discrimination.
Yeah.
You know, of course, they're trying to say like, "Oh, you're a fascist," or "you're this," you know, trying to get me. And I'm just like staying on point. So when Jess was asking for talking points, I was like, just stay on point. If they try something else, it's just like, no, answer the question, because they really got mad, and the admin actually silenced me because some people started like questioning. So I got silenced so they can end the conversation, because some people were like actually starting to question, because I'm like, I'm not for discrimination, of course, and they were trying to say, well, you're a fascist, you're you know, all this other BS stuff. I'm just like, but you're advocating for discrimination. I'm not.
Well, and then sometimes it's just a matter of like you've got to plant the seed, right? So when you initially plant this seed for a lot of people, because we have to look at this in context, like when people are getting introduced to like things like white fragility or how to be an anti-racist, it's all framed in like you have to do these things in order to be a good person. Right. And so we don't know how long they've been kind of existing in that reality. Like to be a good person means to do X, Y, B, and Z. And then you come along and you say, but it's really bad to do X, Y, B, and Z, and it kind of makes you a racist to do X, Y, B, and Z. That's going to kind of like it's going to create cognitive dissonance for them. That's going to be like it's troublesome. Even if they can see the logic of what you're saying, it's like it's still going to create that dissonance that's going to take them a minute to move through. But it sounds like what you did was to plant the seed that they could think about it. And
Yes, I
you
did.
know, if you can plant those seeds in like just really nice, lovely ways where you know, if they call you a racist, if they call you names, if they try to get you in, you know, you can graciously say, no, I'm good. This is kind of like what I think. And I still love you and appreciate you as a human being. Like, if you can do that and still try to keep some relationship going, it really can be the start of them waking up. So that's what's required, you know?
Yeah, I like said, I was like, I'm not a racist. I'm not the one advocating for discrimination. You are, and the real talking point is they're like, well, it can't be discrimination if we're going after white supremacists because we're white. But I'm like, even as Kenny, the guy who you're taking these positions on, he's black. So by your standards, he's a racist. You support him, so you're supporting a racist. It's racist, and they're just like, they don't measure. And of course, their main topic is capitalism.
Oh, I did a video about that today.
Yes, you did. I saw that. You know, and like I said, they're hiding behind white supremacy. You know, saying white supremacy is bad. I was like, yeah, it's bad, but they're using it to just to distort. Because you know, we talk about, well, it's not anti-white. It's just racism, and ultimately is to just destroy everything. Like you said on your earlier video, you know, I just think they're using that whole, you know, where it's like, well, it looks like they're targeting white people, or even the appearance of it. It's just it's a facade. It's all it is. Once you peel it back, and you know what? 6 months ago, I would have said anti-white, but then, you know, I'm just trying to peel back the layers slowly just to see what's going on and all that, you know. And of course, then, you know, I enjoy locals and all that. My wife kept telling me to, like, you gotta go socialize. I was like, all right, I'll go socialize. I'll make friends.
Well, locals is a great place to do it.
Yes, it is. Like I said, I listen to as many people's fault. I do listen to Tim Pool, Styx, Jimmy Dore is about the farthest left I'm willing to listen to.
I like Jimmy Dore. You know, Jimmy Dore is honest. You might not agree with everything he said, but he's honest.
Well, the only thing I disagree with Jimmy Dore is that when he says I want Medicare for all, but he's like, but the government's corrupt. I was like, so the government's corrupt, but you want the government to give you M4A. Does that make any sense? That's like saying,
but you know what? Jimmy Dore totally exposed the squad. When they went and put for that Medicare for all vote, I was like, Jimmy Dore, I want you to get your Medicare for all vote because it's not going to pass. And you know it's not going to pass, and you're going to make your point. I was very supportive of the Medicare for all vote.
Yes, I give him respect. At least he's like, I'm trying to be honest on how I feel about things. I was like, that's respectable and all that. But he does the same thing. He comes back to it's like he's like capitalism bad. But I'm like, but you're doing capitalism right now. I mean, it's like it's a little bit bad, but at least I'm glad he's one to call out people when they're like he's not like he's not a follower.
Right.
He doesn't do it blindly. So it's just, I give that much respect. But like I said, he's about the furthest left. I will not listen to Vosh and all
Yeah,
that, but I am looking for.
Well,
but Tim
don't watch Tim's show tomorrow. That's going to be a shit show.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sorry.
but he's got Kirk on, and I just and Tim Pool did take out. He's like, I'm going against Vosh in this one. He specifically said it's going to be a 2-on-1, so I'm going to entertain it and all that. But I like Adam. But you have to willing to listen. If you don't know what the other side's thinking, you're not going to adapt.
Well, the thing of it is Tim shot himself, and I'll say this now because I have reached the point with this whole situation where I don't give a fuck. And I know there are a lot of Tim Pool fans and like guys like Tim Pool love watch his stuff. I don't really care. I don't want to tell anyone not to do that. But like he got himself in trouble last time he had Vosh on his show when he didn't know as much about critical race theory as he damn well should have. So my big hope for this situation is I know Charlie Kirk doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I know Vosh doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I have my fingers crossed that Tim has done his homework since the last time he broached this issue.
I hope so too. But like I said, before I go and all that, don't want to make this too long. Because I'm currently moving down to West Virginia. I'm about to finalize on a house.
Wow. Congratulations.
However, I did not know about the Free State Project until you mentioned it. Now, the first time I heard about it was from Luke Rakowski on Tim's show. But I didn't know any details. If I would have known more about that, I actually might have considered going up to New Hampshire.
Oh, well, West Virginia is a great place to land for now, but come up and visit us for Pork Fest next year, and maybe we can convince you.
I'm in Hollis right now.
You're in Hollis.
I'm a truck driver by trade. I'm a truck driver by trade. I'm in Hollis, Maine, picking up Poland Spring Load. I pass by New Hampshire like literally 3 times a week. So every time I pass by New Hampshire, I'm like, I look to the left or right, I look north. I'm like, hi, Carlin.
Awesome.
I go through all the time, so.
Well, definitely make it. I mean, West Virginia is beautiful, so I'm sure you're going to have a great setup there. But definitely come up to Pork Fest next year in New Hampshire, and you can get a feel for it. Okay.
I know. Like I said, I thought of it because my wife and kids are Canadian, so I was just like, I wanted to so badly, But it is what. Anyways, you got other people. I don't want to take up all your time. I don't want to be selfish, so I'll catch you later. Okay.
All right.
I'll see you
Thank
tomorrow.
You, Nick.
Actually.
Absolutely.
See you tomorrow. All right.
Bye-bye.
Have
a good one. Bye. All right, guys. Naruto says paper tigers. That came in during Nick's comment. So guys, if you want to join locals and have a chat with us tomorrow night, we do actually have a Zoom call at 6 p.m. tomorrow before we go live with Joshua at 9:30. And so if you want to join my locals and hang out with me and Nick and a whole bunch of other people, kb.locals.com/support is the way to do it. And if you want to call in and have a chat with me, you can use the link at the top of the chat. Next up, we have George, and then it's going to be Dragonwater, Casper, and Jamie after that. George, welcome to the stream. Hey, you're on mute. Can you unmute?
Sorry. Sorry.
There you are. That's okay.
Hello. Okay, I just have 3 minutes because I have to work.
Oh, okay. Okay, we can do it quick. Go ahead.
So about the whole CRT thing, can you believe one day I'm an English teacher, by the way. Okay, and I was teaching a class, and one day during conversation, I talked about the whole black quotas in universities. That it happens here. I live in Brazil. Okay, it happens here too. So I didn't see her because in the institution I work at, students are allowed not to show their cameras. So I didn't see her. She had her camera off, but by her own admission, she was a white woman. Okay, and she was in college age. You know how that is. The thing was basically, I was talking that I said, okay, here in Brazil, in public universities, there are 2 quotas, black quotas and public students quotas, because public public school here is terrible. So it was like a way to help students from public schools to get in universities and improve themselves because they're terrible. And I said, well, I think the most logical idea was take the black student quotas into the public school quotas, and that would also benefit black students more because, unfortunately, students from public schools are a majority of black people. Okay, so it would be the same, basically the same result, and it would evade from rich black kids to take advantage of the quotas, which it happens. Okay, so long story short, I was giving those things to the student. She basically said, "Okay, our opinion don't matter because of the skin of our color, or the color of our skin. Sorry,
really,
the color of our skin. Yes, we have to listen to black people. Yes, student. I'm the teacher."
You know, this is something James Lindsay was just talking about this in the workshop that we did. He was talking about how there's like brown privilege right now, and I had like brown fragility. I was like, if brown people won't acquiesce to black people, they're calling you brown fragile now.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have privilege?
Thing. Okay, but do you know what I did?
What'd you do?
I gave her Gothics channel.
Yeah, love Gothics.
Yeah, I just, okay, listen. Those basically said you have to listen to black people. Okay, I'll give you a black person who thinks, who has the same opinion.
Yes, well done, well done. What'd she say to that?
I don't know, because she read the titles of Gothics videos. They're very misleading. Because she thought she would be a person who would have her opinions, not the opinions that Gothics actually has.
Gothics looks like a person that would have those opinions.
Yeah, in her mind, of course.
Yes.
And because of the titles on the same subject, she thought, okay, those are really good subjects. I don't know. I've never seen her again. Better that I haven't.
I love that. I love it. It all worked out for the best, right?
Yeah. But you see how, but the thing was that the way I saw at that moment was she is diminishing herself to the point that she thinks, she even admitted, that's not my opinion, I'm just parroting what people told me. Yeah. If she says, our opinion don't matter, she said, I'm not forming an opinion about this, I'm just repeating what people tell me to say.
Well, then you did the very best thing that you could do, which was to disrupt that thought process and to give her a different story, because that may have been the only thing that she'd ever heard. That may have been all that she had been ever taught, right? Yeah. And so introducing a new concept, getting her to say like, "Oh, all black people don't think this way." I mean, it was the absolute best thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Really have to go. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. We'll talk again at some point, I'm sure. Have a good one.
Let's talk again. See you.
Bye. All right, just a quickie on that one. We have 3 more call-ins to go, guys. If anyone else wants to get in line for call-ins, now is going to be the time you want to do it. And we're going to bring up Dragon Water next. Dragon Water, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Okay. So what I really want to do first is try to explain what I was trying to say earlier.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to defend the right or the people who've been attacking you.
I know you weren't. Yeah.
Really what I'm worried about is what can we do to to not radicalize the people who have this pain who aren't already white supremacists.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard, right? Because I think to an extent, like doing what we're doing in terms of talking about it out loud, in terms of like helping people to see that like there's nothing wrong with just being who you are and being like a normal person. You don't have to subscribe to these ideologies. There are people out there like you. There are places for people like you. I think that's got to be part of it. But there also has to be personal responsibility involved in a lot of this. Is like, people have to make the choice of how they want to see the world. And I think one of the things that I'm worried about in terms of like radicalization on the right is that people are making the choice to buy into the rules that the left has set. They're making the choice to say, oh, all white people are racist. Well, you're going to perceive me as racist anyway, then I might as well act a little bit more racist than I was before. And they're doing it. And I don't think that they realize that it's just a reaction. They're just reacting to everything that the left is giving them instead of forming their own thoughts about things. And they're starting to act woke themselves. And so people have to make that choice. They have to know that, they have to take advantage of opportunities like, joining communities like the Walkaway community was a great place for this. Like, joining my locals or other locals that are talking about this to connect with normal people. But they have to realize that there is another way out of it. And if they aren't looking for those things, or if they are just completely opposed to seeing them, that's got to be their choice.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with that, but I'm worried that, especially because of some communities I've been in, something like, say you want to get a journalist on it to do articles to expose the white supremacists.
Oh, I still want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like something that might create more radicalization, especially with the respect journalists have right now.
Well, it might, but at the same time, it's like, from my perspective, this is going to be a big effing problem. And you know what? Like, I'm sorry, but there's got to be at least one responsible journalist out there who will actually act like it. Like, I've seen it. I've seen more than I am willing. I've scratched the surface of what I've seen publicly, and there are other people that have more information and can direct these journalists in all the right ways. But like, it needs coverage. It really does, because it's going to be a problem that is going to be much bigger than people think it is. And that's what I'm really scared of. And I mean, frankly, if the right, and again, this is one of those things where, like, you have to take free will into consideration. If the right is just going to react to everything that happens instead of taking a moment and saying, no, actual white supremacists are a problem. Like, it's a problem, and it's not something that we should support, and it's not something, and frankly, to be honest, like, like, why isn't the right saying, I disavow this behavior, I disavow Nick Fuentes, I disavow actual white identitarianism? Why aren't they saying that? That's my question. Why can't they just disavow it?
I think probably because for years when they did, they didn't get credit for it.
Well, but that means that they're not doing the thing that is the right thing to do out of spite.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of think by the time we get to the right and left dichotomy, it's already too late.
Yeah, I mean,
really, what we need to do is, as spiritual and woo-woo as this sounds, we need to start teaching kids from when they're young to really align more with their actual selves than what we want them to be.
I 100% agree with you there. We are absolutely in alignment. And I don't believe that this left-right dichotomy is good either. I mean, I think that, there's a reason that I left the Republican Party 15 minutes after joining it, right? It's like, it's not good, and it's not any better.
And none of the systems we really have were actually built for the benefit of the masses.
Right.
It's like, as much as this destabilization and what the left wants is bad, we also need to find a way to replace those basically rotten systems with something actually functional.
Yeah. That's it, and it's not gonna happen while everyone is behaving like tribalist idiots, And so if the right can't denounce actual white supremacy, and if they wanna take, everything as, like, Carlin said, "We're all white supremacists." No, I didn't. Like, that's just bullshit, and everyone who's been paying attention knows that that's bullshit. And if they wanna behave like that, then they're getting exactly what they deserve, and it makes me sad. It makes me so incredibly sad because they could be so much better than they are.
I know. I've tried to watch a few videos about some of the stuff you've said, and they make absolutely no sense. Like, I think last week I watched one of Tree's videos on you. Apparently you had a Twitter spat with her.
Oh, well, she made a video lying about me, and then I said to her, I was like, she challenged me to a debate, and I said to her, I was like, I made a post on my channel. I was like, if you show me evidence to support the accusations you've made about me, I will debate you. But I want evidence that I actually did the things you said I did in that video. Of course, she never provided the evidence because she flat out lied about me the first time. So no, she didn't get her debate. And then she made another video crying about it.
Yeah, and none of what she said made any sense, and she complained about you attacking her appearance. Well, she does the same to you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything either way because, well, I was never on Twitter.
Well, this wasn't on Twitter. This was on YouTube. I don't know that I've interacted with her on Twitter, but you know, I mean,
then I
same difference.
misunderstood there.
Like, no, but like it's like the whole thing is just so stupid. Like I'm, you know, and it's like it creates this. You'll probably see I'll probably post the video of me crying for half an hour in locals at some point. But like it's just like this is the stuff that just really pisses me off the most because it's so unnecessary. And it's cut my legs out from under me. And that really pisses me off. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Like if the right doesn't want me fighting this shit, like why do I have to? Like I gave up so much to do this and they want to sabotage what I'm doing. You know, I'm not on their team then. Then go F themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to quit. I don't want to give up, but like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just feels like the right isn't a good place to align.
No, I don't think that they are. Not in the state that they are right now. No.
Yeah, the libertarians seem somewhat better, although somewhat dysfunctional as well as a conglomeration.
Yes, I think the libertarians, that's a very good description of the libertarians. But we're actually going to be having a chat tomorrow on the channel at 2 p.m. with a guy named Dennis Pratt, who I've had on a couple times. And Dennis is going to tell us about bigotry in the Libertarian Party. And he's also going to tell us about why Joe Jorgensen tweeted Black Lives Matter last year and what the hell happened there.
I will watch that after the fact. That darn time zones.
Yes. Well, it'll be a good chat. And of course, we'll always be here when you're ready.
Yeah.
All right, Dragon Water. Anything else for tonight?
Not really. I mean, I'll say, mount the like button to everyone.
Yes, mount that like button. Thank you, Dragon Water.
Yeah, hopefully there's nothing remotely controversial tomorrow.
Yes, as of right now.
Not that the title makes sense to me, but...
As you know how that started is, so Joshua and I's original show was called Snark and Shenanigans. And then we were doing our second episode or something, and YouTube banned the episode before we even started it. They banned us before we even started the episode. And so I tried to restart it under the same name, and it banned it again. And so I was like, Joshua, we're just going to call this Nothing Remotely Controversial. And then I thought it was a better name than Snark and Shenanigans. So that's how the name was born.
I've just always lived by you're not the one that gets to decide if what you say is controversial or not, because nothing you say is controversial to you.
Well, I actually disagree with that. I say controversial things sometimes. Just every once in a while.
Have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Dragon Water. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So we've got Casper, Jamie, Tony, and then Raise the Black Flag. And then Hallie actually just jumped on as well. So that'll be the order that we're going in. Ash, I don't know how to say your name, dude. I'm sorry. They don't denounce any more white supremacists, probably because the left qualifies white supremacists. A lot of people who aren't white supremacists. I mean, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when I say white supremacists are actual legitimate white supremacists. It's people who are in a like white lives matter, like white well-being movements, white positivity movements, white survival movements, people who are placing racism against white people as a higher priority against all other forms of racism, which I fundamentally believe is wrong. I'm talking about legitimate white and I don't care if Trump condemned them. I don't care if Trump condemned them. Every person should be condemning this bullshit. I'm sorry. Every single one. No excuses. There is no excuse for not condemning actual white supremacy. And we're not going to be able to fight critical race theory effectively while people are fighting this battle. There is no excuse. There is no reason for it. It is going to make it harder to achieve our goals if people are not going to do this. I'm sorry to sound like I'm lecturing, but this is the reality of the situation, okay? Casper, welcome.
Hi,
Just the
how you
guy I
doing?
need, Casper. Good. How are you?
Right. I'm okay. I understand. Um, yeah, I'm coming to the end of my obsession with all this political stuff. I've been following this stuff since 2009, 2012. I kind of amped it up, and I mean, I've watched a lot of political stuff on all spectrums, and I'm just like, if whatever's going to happen is in God's hands. In my personal opinion, I have faith that God's going to work stuff out, and if He doesn't, we'll survive somehow. But I'm going to start focusing my life on things that I care about. And one of the things I really care about is I want to be an advocate and an activist for people who are adults who have suffered horrific childhood abuse, and others who are suffering major depressions that require them to be disabled. I want to be an advocate and an activist for those kind of people. And I want to find ways to fill my life with joy, because one thing I've found is you can pinpoint trying to find the truth, but if you're a human being, you care about other human beings, and that's evident. That's all you can really do. I mean, if you're in a position of influence and you can speak out, do what you can. But I do agree, you don't want to be a hero and cut off your nose to spite your face as far as, taking care of yourself financially. But we really need to stop focusing on the negative and start focusing on positive creation and support of people who need it. And that's what I'm going to do.
I think that's wonderful, Casper, and I think that that's exactly the right thing that most people should be doing. I think that everyone in their life needs to be focusing their creative energy in some ways into like providing value to the world, instead of like, I think that I have this whole theory about there being creators in the world and destroyers in the world, and creators are people who focus their energy positively. Destroyers are people who don't have the self-worth to focus their energy positively, and so they try to destroy the things that other people have created. And we always want to try to be creators.
Yeah. And, we all have value, and sometimes, we're all human. We have all of us have the capacity to be both losers and winners in the span of a second. And sometimes when you're a loser, you're really a winner. And sometimes when you're a winner, you're really a loser. It's all about perspective. And, we need to discard all the worries that we have no control over and focus on what we do. And that's what I'm going to do. So.
We only have control over what we do and the perspective that we have and how we interact with others and what we give to the world. That's all we have control over. We don't have control over how people respond or how people react or any of these things.
Yeah. And I'm glad you've let me in on your journey a little bit and let me kind of have a passenger seat on occasion. That's cool.
Of course. Well, I think you're great. You always make me laugh. I always like your perspective, Casper, and so I appreciate that you've hung around.
And I'll continue to hang around, even if it might be more on the peripheral as I get involved in other stuff. But yeah, always be in your camp, a little bit here and there.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know, okay?
Okay, cool.
All right, Casper. Well, have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Bye. Casper is the best. He is. Alexandra Martin says, hey, all. Don't forget to mount that like button. What a great stream to grocery shop to. I really love call-ins. I love you guys so much. I love doing call-ins. I genuinely love call-ins. I think call-ins are fun. I get like it's usually like the same people now. Like I'm starting to get regulars for call-ins, but I really want a good troll every once in a while. I feel like I haven't had a troll since the very first night we did call-ins, and I need to do a better job of pissing people off apparently, or at least like finding people who have the balls to come on the dang stream. All right, next up, just to give you guys an order, we have 4 more people for call-ins. We have Jamie, Tony, Raise the Black Flag, and Hallie. And next up, we're going to go to Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Hi. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Let me look at your settings. I can't hear you. Oh no, check. Oh, try now. No, I can't hear you. Are you plugged into? Are your settings all set up right? Oh, I don't know. I wish I could help. I can't see your settings though. I can only edit your mic settings. Can you try to go into your audio settings and change your microphone? We'll give this a minute. No? Oh no. Well, we'll try again another time. Oh well. Sorry about that. All right. Well, next up we have another one of my favorites, Tony.
Oh, that's nice. It's nice to hear.
It's just the green hat.
I was gonna change it, and I guess now I'll keep it.
We got to get you a camera is what we need to do. We're in a crowdfund for you to get a camera.
It's on the list. It's not it's a lack of will, not a lack of funds at this point. Too busy with other things. You know, I'm moving now. I sold my house.
Oh wow! Congrats.
So I'm packing. We are to be out in about 20 days. So maybe when I get into the new place,
we'll get you a camera. Okay. What's going on tonight?
So I was gonna bring this up tomorrow, and I probably will. Anyway, but something really got my goat, as they say. Yesterday, I was my guilty pleasure is Imager these days. Used to be Reddit, but I don't go on Reddit that much anymore. It's become
Reddit is a cesspool. Reddit is worse than Twitter.
Yeah, well, I remember it in my college days, and I guess I still reminisce about how it used to be. And even then, it was kind of going downhill. It's been a long slide into oblivion. But anyway, so I saw this, and I just wanted to reach you. It's about the difference between equality and equity, which you see a lot of this sort of propaganda cropping up. But this one specifically had to do with a teacher, and it made me think a lot about how this is being presented in the classroom for children. So I'll read this to you. And like anything on the internet, could totally be fake, but it strikes as true. So I'll read it.
Okay.
So this is something that I teach my students during the first week of school, and they understand it. 8-year-olds can understand this, and all it costs is a box of Band-Aids. I have each student's misspelled, pretend they got hurt and need a Band-Aid. Children love Band-Aids. I ask the first one where they are hurt. This person writes like an 8-year-old, but if he says his finger, I put the Band-Aid on his finger. Then I ask the second one where they are hurt. No matter what the child says, I put the Band-Aid on their finger exactly like the first child. I keep doing that through the whole class. No matter where they say their pretend injury is, I do the same thing I did with the first one. After they all have Band-Aids in the same spot, I ask if that actually helped any of them other than the first child. I say, well, I helped all of you the same. You all have one Band-Aid. And they'll try to get me to understand that they were hurt somewhere else. I act like I'm just now understanding it. Then I explain, there might be moments this year where some of you get different things because you need them differently, just like you needed a Band-Aid in a different spot. If at any time any of my students ask why one student has a different assignment or gets taken out of the class for a subject or gets another teacher to come in and help them throughout the year, I remind my students of the Band-Aids they got at the start of the school year, and they stop complaining. That's why 8-year-olds can understand equity. So not only is this I think an example of a misunderstanding of both what equity and equality is, it's propagandizing it without actually being able to understand what they're even propagandizing, because what they're actually describing is a demonstration of equity, not equality. Giving the same thing to every person, that is, the outcome is the same.
Right.
As far as what everyone has is a demonstration of equity, and why it's so obvious. And it's kind of hilarious to me that they don't even understand. So there's a disconnection between the definition of the words and the conceptions that they're trying to demonstrate, and they understand that you can't treat all problems equally, but that's only within a certain framework. And you can't just narrow and expand your framework depending on your argument to suit your needs. If you're going to say, well, what we want to achieve is equal access to healthcare, that's not the same thing as saying everyone receives the same treatment, because that's just silly. I mean, obviously. So to take an absurdist position and then use that as a platform for the propaganda for your ideology, I mean, I was spinning in circles thinking about this, because I couldn't believe how insanely stupid this person is.
Well, I almost wonder, because as you were telling the story, I'm like, wow, this is a great example of equality. This is actually something we should be teaching people.
Right.
But the fact that they called it equity, I mean, I almost wonder, like, because these kids, how old were they using this for kids?
Well, I'm assuming because most teachers are women, 8 years old.
So
8-year-olds.
So 8 years old. So those kids are going to keep getting lessons about equity as they get older, right? And I almost wonder if at some point one of them's going to look back and be like, that Band-Aid lesson wasn't about equity, it was about equality. They might even understand it better than the teacher at some point.
I'm sure that will happen. And it's, I mean, I think that there's always going to be a minority of individuals who are able to look back on lessons like that and try to reassess. But there's I think a larger group that will take lessons learned at face value, particularly the verbiage used. So that's what it's really about. That's why it's propaganda. It's because they're injecting the word early in the learning process, so that later on in high school or in college, or even when they're in voting, when they hear equity, it triggers a memory of fairness. Right? So you hear equity, think fairness. And if you hear equality, think absurd solutions to simple problems.
Right.
Which is like that's their whole point. That like what you're saying is it's a power move, essentially, to restructure the social zeitgeist. To make people think that one concept, one word means good and another means bad. And that's what it's really about, I think, because it's not about whether you can understand these concepts at the large scale, right? It's about how can you capture the hearts and minds of people by using words. And when people say, when you have a politician who comes out and says equity over equality, how many of those students who now are adults are going to be pushed in that direction? And that's why it's particularly dangerous. Because an 8-year-old, I mean, barely you can't explain these sorts of concepts to them. It's about injecting it's like the way ads work, It's just putting the brand in the mind.
Well, and what they're trying to do, like the 8-year-old is very intentional, because once a person goes past like 8 years old, their brain starts to form in different ways. So prior to like 8 years old, super malleable. Like anything, this is why you teach languages to children when they're younger, because they're going to retain the language better and actually like have a much better understanding of it when they grow older. If you get it in there before they're 8 years old. 8 years old is like the magic age.
Yeah.
It's scary, man. It's
scary. It is. And it's popular enough where I see it all the time now in certain circles, of course. But Imgur is one of the largest, if not the largest, picture sharing website. They're tied very closely with Reddit, which is one of the largest websites in the world. And I know that it's extremely biased, the amount of the people that are there, and that has to do with the fact that they keep kicking everybody else out. So I don't want to be too alarmist. about it. It's not like everybody thinks this way, but it's kind of scary when they have a grip on the education system the way that they do.
Well, and this
because
is
it's the next
why,
generation.
yeah, and this is why I think the battle in K through 12 schools is actually the most important battle for so many reasons. I mean, because it's a captive audience, students are compelled to go there. A lot of parents don't feel like they can homeschool. They don't have school choice. They can't pull their kids out of it. What else are they going to do? And it's like, that is the biggest problem, because if they're going to get kids when they're younger and younger and younger, that's going to create, they're playing the long game with this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah,
terrifying.
absolutely.
It's much more important than the workplace. It's much more important than government. It's more important than anywhere else, is the K through 12 schools.
I agree, and I mean, I don't want to go on and on about the education system. I've had problems with it for a long time, and this is just another nail in the coffin, in my opinion. Teachers, I don't like. I think what it really started with. I'm not going to go on too much longer, but forcing every teacher to come out of the university system, instead of allowing people who had expertise in fields but weren't necessarily quote unquote university educated,
right,
started to bend that needle in one direction. And I think that is becoming sort of a feedback loop where 20-year-olds who were just in high school, or 22-year-olds who were just in high school 4 years ago, they just spent 4 more years of indoctrination in even more left-leaning institution, and they're going back to the schools to teach those kids a watered-down, simplified version of something they really didn't understand when they were learning, and then that just kind of feeds itself and accelerates in an exponential way. But anyway, so that's I wanted to bring that up because it pissed me off and sent it to help someone.
I'm always glad when you join the stream, Tony, because you always have interesting stories. So we'll see you tomorrow night in Locals.
Yep, that's the plan.
All right, we'll see you then. Have a good
night.
one. Bye. Guys, what Tony is talking about is every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. we do a live Zoom call in my Locals. It's kind of a little bit like this, but with more people, and you get to hear more interesting stories. So come join my Locals, kb.locals.com/support. Now, you can join my Locals for free, but you do have to be a supporter to get access to the Zoom calls. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. It's awesome. The community's awesome. There's lots of Locals members here in the chat. If you have questions, I'm sure they'll be able to tell you what's what. All right, we have 2 more callers for tonight. The call-in link is still up, so if you want to join, this is the last call for call-ins. I'm going to take it down after this next one, but we have Raise the Black Flag, and then we have Hallie. So we're going to go Raise the Black Flag first. Hello. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Good. What up?
What up? It looks like your internet's working tonight.
That's because I'm using my computer and a new microphone.
Oh, fancy. What's going on?
Nothing much. Been spending time away from Twitter.
That's
thankfully.
A smart move.
Oh, yeah. Like, eventually you get tired of just, like, arguing with just, like,
it's the
just
worst.
some annoying people.
It's the worst place on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. It's so bad.
Oh, yeah, like, I've dealt with stuff on Facebook, but oh boy, like, people all across the political spectrum, from, like, cons to libs to, like, tankies, it really, really can mess you up mentally.
It really can. And this is why I always tell people, like, you cannot take Twitter seriously.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot. Like, Twitter for me is an active exercise in seeing how many people I can piss off and trigger in any number of different ways. Because it's the only useful tool for that web. Well, I mean, I like to get news, and I like to see what people are talking about, and I like to see, like, having access to journalists is cool. But, like, the fact that journalists are just reporting what they're seeing on Twitter blows my goddamn mind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Like, there's just so many different examples of, like, just so many kinds of layers of bull crap that have just happened just because of tweets. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And
of course they don't do any investigation beyond the tweets. None.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I guess one great example is this, like the whole thing with TYT and Jimmy Dore and Aaron Mate. Holy crap!
Wait, so what's going on there? So I definitely saw Jimmy Dore tweeting about TYT and making fun of them, but he always does, so I don't really pay close attention because like that's like a perpetual state of being. So what happened with Jimmy Dore and TYT and all that?
Oh, so this is something interesting. So apparently what ended up happening was TYT was smearing a anti-war journalist, Aaron Mate.
Of course they were.
Yes. Yes, it's one of the glorious things they do. Hang on a minute.
All right.
What? Can you help me? I can't at the current moment.
Tell him you're live on the internet. Tell him you're live on the internet.
I'm kind of live on the internet. Yeah. Yeah. That's my brother.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. Just shut the door. Thank you.
We've got important business to tend to.
Yes.
TYT
Anyways.
drama.
Yes. So, yes.
I love
TYT drama. So they ended up smearing Aaron Mate, who was reporting, like at the moment he was in Syria, reporting on the various things that was going on there. And then all of a sudden, Jank and what's her name? Anna Kasparian.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. They were going off on just like smearing him, calling him, oh, he's in bed with Russia, and all this kind of babbling nonsense. And then Jimmy Dore and Aaron went on one show together of Jimmy defending Aaron. And then TYT ended up smearing and blackmailing Jimmy about something that happened several years ago about him commenting on like Anna wearing this very, very low cut skirt that when she bent over, she had well, everything was showing to keep this all YouTube friendly.
Yes.
And of course, her very students were around, and Jimmy said, "Hey, Anna, nice dress." And everyone was laughing, and it like she got upset. Jimmy wrote her like an apology letter and everything, thought that everything went away, all was forgiven. And then when this drama started occurring, and again, this is all a bit rough as to what it is. This is essentially the basics. Jimmy and Aaron go on and on about this. And I believe Glenn Greenwald has a video on this too. But
oh God.
Yes. It got pretty bad.
If journalists want anything to cover that actually makes sense, I will give you a whole bunch of white supremacist nonsense. I really will. I just need one journalist who's willing to cover actual news instead of this bullshit.
Oh
My
yeah.
God.
In this particular case, I can kind of understand Glenn, Jimmy, and Aaron in this to a point, in that, yes, this is one of the things in that it's a smear campaign, whatnot, and you know, defend yourself and whatnot to a point. Although, thankfully, you know, in the case of Glenn, he didn't focus on it too terribly much, it seems. Oh boy, it was a roller coaster and a half, to say the least. And there was just like so many different tweets after tweets, and at one point when I got involved, Anna finally blocked me.
You got Anna Kasparian to block you?
Yes.
Congratulations. That's a good get.
Oh yes, two of the greatest things that have happened to me on Twitter. You following me and being blocked by Anna.
Oh, I got a great block this week too. Ibram X Kendi blocked me.
Ooh.
I was so proud. I was like, I don't even know what I did. I wasn't even interacting with him. Oh man,
that is so glorious.
I was like, go ahead.
Yeah, the next person that I've been trying to get blocked, because, you know, I call him out on his hypocrisy and bullcrap a lot, is Jank. I don't think he's noticed me yet.
Well, keep working on
Yeah.
it. I got John Cusack to block me within 24 hours of starting,
Ooh.
like, my mission to get John Cusack to block me. I was really impressed by that one.
Wow, dang.
It only took, like, 4 tweets. And I was like, "That
Yeah.
was quick."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, my friend. Well, I have a whole bunch of other people waiting behind you, and I'd like to get to bed at some point. So can we wrap it up for
And
tonight?
all right, sounds good.
Well,
See
I'm
you
glad
then.
yeah, I'm glad you got your internet working, and we'll have to do another call-in
Yeah.
soon.
Oh yeah. Hopefully
All
soon
right.
before my mission.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll try to we'll get it in there. All right,
Yeah.
my friend. Have
Maybe.
a great rest of your night, okay?
All right. You too,
Bye.
Carlin. Bye.
I love that kid. That kid, when he first called in, I was sure he was a troll because of his mask, and then he just turned out to be like a Meacock guy. And I was like, all right. Naruto, check your DMs. I sent a pic I saw on Facebook. Let me see, Naruto. You are never told to surrender your civil liberties. You were asked to help each other stay healthy and survive. Well, that's a little bit of a leftist comment, isn't it? Thank you for that, Naruto. All right. Let's see. We got a whole bunch of more call-ins that have joined, so we're gonna do Hallie, Gray Wander Wolf, Emily L, XZX, and Meg are all in line. There are no more call-ins for right now because I do have to sleep at some point. Flame Wars, the cancel culture card game, is available from Indiegogo. Banned on social media. Why not get banned from a card game too? Congratulations, Flame Wars. All right, Hallie,
Hi.
you're up. Hello.
Hi. I feel like stage struck here.
Oh, you're gonna be fine.
I give you $5 a month for you'll see on the.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, by the way, first time I've used Impromptu Live.
Yeah.
So I guess I can sign up. If signing up allows me the ability to stream, or because obviously you hear me without. So I just.
Yeah, so this is just a tool I use to stream on the internet. So if you don't stream on the internet, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But you're doing just fine. We're just gonna have a little chat, just you and I.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, I won't be too long because I know you just said want to get to bed. So do I.
Yeah.
But I was listening to the other guy before this one when he was talking about equity or teaching equity to kids. Oh man, I'm gonna get flamed for this. What's wrong with telling the kids life is not always fair?
I don't think there's anything wrong with telling kids that. I think that's a great message. Like life's not fair. We all start in different places. We get different stuff. It's about what you do with what you have.
Yeah. Be grateful for what you have. But
yes.
While listening, I'm writing down all these questions that I wanted to talk about. Like as far as CRT, do you see me like instead of like just complaining or getting banning it, which it should be banned?
Yeah.
But what if somebody came and offered an alternative? I think that would get people riled more and get these lefties to say, well, we could teach American history, for example, about race relations, but not this whites are evil.
Well, so part of it, number one, is like, so they're not teaching so when you look at actual curriculum and what they're actually doing in the classroom, very rarely are they teaching whites are evil. That's not usually what they're doing. They're teaching that the United States is a fundamentally racist country. A lot of the teachings come from that. They're teaching this equity versus equality stuff, but those are really they're not going in and being like white people are bad people. Like every once in a while you'll find a class that does that, but it's not the norm. And so
well, they had to modify it. In other words, I think they kind of backpedaled.
Yeah.
So they're trying another avenue, I think. They know they screwed up.
Yeah, so maybe, but they're also going to change. I mean, so part of the reason that the bans aren't necessarily going to work is people can get around this stuff. They're just going to rename it something different. They're going to call it something new. So people really need to be on the lookout for that, because the bans are not the end all be all.
Oh.
They're just like a temporary reprieve. It's just it's to stop the fire hose. That's what the bans are. It's to stop the fire hose, to slow them down, but they are not going to solve the problem.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, I even wrote in the comments, I wondered if at some point, we're dealing now with public schools, but, a lot of private or parochial schools, they rely on funding. Do you see it like that they're, there's no, it's like there's no escaping in the long run.
No.
Or they're going to ban, I live in a Jewish area, Orthodox, and they're I live in New York, and we're being harassed now as far as having more secular studies. I think that's up to the community and the family, but they are trying. It's like a Trojan horse. They are. I suspect that the real avid secularists are trying to push this in the CRT.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
So will it come a point? Do you see, like, I don't understand. It's one thing to defund. I think that all these communities, not just Jewish, but all these self-contained, we're going to have to start pooling our resources because the era of the blank check is over. We cannot rely on governments to fund us in certain situations.
Well,
I'm sorry, go on. I get excited. No, they rely on support of brute force.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say is, like, so in a place like New York City, you're gonna have a hard time with that because, like, really, like, you're gonna have, like, like the cities are lost. I mean, honestly, like, I think so. I think that the cities are gonna be near impossible to turn around because they're gonna keep voting Democrats into leadership and they're gonna keep instilling this stuff. But, like, one of the points that you made, and it's so sad too. I mean, New York City has been basically destroyed at this point. But one of the points I want to hit on is that, like, this is not just about the public schools. This is happening in charter schools. This is happening in the parochial schools. This is happening in the church. It's happening everywhere. And so,
they're probably going to ban homeschooling. I kid you not.
I don't think they're going to ban homeschooling. I don't think that they can. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this, so I don't think that they can ban homeschooling. But I mean, they might try, but I think we're going to start seeing things move in the other direction. I think the homeschool industry is going to start booming.
Oh, yeah. I just keep wondering just the viability period of public school. There's not just going to be CRT. But
I don't think they're viable.
No, because you no longer have a national community. I think it's essentially these small, it'll be on a grassroots thing with these smaller communities. Like I said, they're going to join forces or pool resources, or give a lot of these charities, organizations to try to fund tuitions.
Yeah.
But I think that these people even realize they shot themselves in the foot. But I'm just wondering, at some point, again, looking at my notes, I hate to see a race war. I mean, I don't know if these public schools are going to end up just warehousing either these I don't even say underprivileged, but the ones that are just so, like, street kids that are just so totally lost.
No, I mean, I don't know that. Well, I think I frankly think if we see a race war, I think it's going to be started by white identitarians, to be really honest with you.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be started by people who are not pasty white. I think it's going to be started by white identitarians who feel threatened and are being pushed beyond what they can take. But are we going to see that anytime soon? No, I don't think people need to worry about that in the time being. I think what people should be focused on is in terms of speaking up in their communities, fighting for things like school choice, making sure the teachers know that we're watching them, make sure you're looking at everything your kids are learning. Like, people shouldn't freak out and go to extremes just yet because we're simply not there. And we won't be for a long time. And I think, like, we need to just be practical about this and push back where we can for right now, is my position. I think we need to be pragmatic.
Do you think that, you said that you got disenchanted with the Republican Party? I understand that.
Oh, yeah.
I still see them as, I don't say the lesser of two evils. I think that I would rely more on them than, say, the libertarian.
Republicans are going to do crap. Republicans are going to be supporting critical race theory within 2 years. Mark my words. Absolutely. Really? They already are. Yeah, they already are. Chris Sununu in New Hampshire worked with the Democrats to support critical race theory in schools. The entire GOP is now rallying around him. The Republican Party is not going to fight this fight. And I mean, like, people might be mad at me for saying that.
Yeah.
But it is like, they haven't been. They weren't fighting it all last year. The only reason that critical race theory got banned on the federal level is because Trump issued an executive order. Republican Party didn't do crap. The Republican Party is like now, like, making, like, pretending like they're going to try to pass bills, but none of the bills they're introducing are going to go anywhere, and they know that. And so it's a show. It's a show. None of them care about this. So, I mean, I understand why people might stay within the Republican Party. I'm not buying into this anymore, though. Absolutely not. I will not support the Republican Party as long as they do anything to support critical race theory.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, it's just like making a pact with the devil as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, you've got people behind you. I just,
all right.
Yeah, okay, well, my first venture.
Yeah, well, you did just great, and I do call-ins regularly, so now you know how to do it, so you can come back another time, all right?
Yeah, great. I keep up the good work. Really inspiring.
Thank you, Hallie. I appreciate that. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Oh, she was nice. All right, looks like we have 3 more people in the stream for right now. We have Gray Wonder Wolf, we have Emily, we have XZX. Six Emperor Terrania says Tim Pool had on Lily Tang Williams tonight. Yes, he did. I was very excited that Lily Tang Williams, I heard about this. I'm so excited she got to go on that show and get that platform because Lily Tang Williams has a great story. I had no idea she was going on Tim Pool tonight, but I posted clips from a chat I did with her over the weekend, and we did this chat a while ago. So go check out those clips. Lily Tang Williams is awesome. She's the best. All right. Gray Wonder Wolf, you're up.
Hi, Carol. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Fine. And so, I was just thinking about talking about the old uniparty, that good old secret handshake behind everyone's backs. And I wanted to get your opinion on something, because I think that this uniparty nonsense stems from 2 things: communism that took over Hollywood, and lost causers from the Reconstruction after the Civil War.
Okay. Tell me more. You have my attention.
I think it's because what the lost causers have after the U.S. Civil War, we won the war, but I think we lost the Reconstruction. Because despite all our efforts, especially through the abolitionists and all these new reforms, you can easily see as soon as that piece of crap at Booth assassinated Lincoln, and it all went to pot. Even after the military had left the cities where they were watching these Democrats like a hawk. Mm-hmm. But as soon as they left, suddenly the Democrats just wanted all that power and to hang on for dear life. And they keep this idea of the lost cause of victimhood. Just like communism, they want to be victims, and they want to destroy the system that they are under because they think it is oppressive and that it has made them victims. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't do it alone. And obviously, because as they had integrated, they could only do so much with their controlled opposition as Republicans. So then they can also get the narrative with the communists that own the media, which is Hollywood.
Okay.
So with that, I'm wondering, what do you think when it comes to all that? Do you think that how do I put it, that people would be able to figure this out, and if there's even a point to it?
Well, no, I mean, I think what you're doing is you're following a victimhood narrative back to where you're hypothesizing that it may have started. And you may very well be right about that. I think, one of the things I would think about is, like, I don't know when all this started. I haven't gone back and really thought about it in the way that I think you're thinking about it. But I think it's worth to consider, like, when this may have popped up before, and looking into the victim narrative timeline and just tracing that back. I think that could actually be a really interesting thing to look at, and looking at times in history when that's popped up, and you're putting those 2 things together. And I think it's an interesting hypothesis.
All right.
I don't know. I wish I had more substantive feedback. I just don't have like the history at the touch of a button.
No, and this is actually what I was getting at, is because the U.S. Civil War is actually something that is not taught well at all in the education system.
Yeah.
It is constantly glossed over who the main supporters of the Confederates were, and it was the Democrats. And that is, and I can personally attest to this from my education, they just glossed over. They just kept saying, oh, it was just the Confederates. Well, who was funding these guys? Who were her politicians? And who was fighting Abe Lincoln the whole time? They don't tell you this kind of stuff.
Well, that sounds like an interesting topic for a book to me.
If only I was that good of a writer.
Well, I mean, don't underestimate yourself. A lot of people can write books. There are a lot of really badly written books out there that make great points.
Fair enough.
But I think you should look into it, and I think you should, continue to explore this. I think you've got an interesting theory, and why not? Why not look into it? What else are we gonna do, right?
Fair enough. I can only do so much to annoy my boss at my warehouse.
Yeah. And it gives you time too. Like you can listen to stuff, you can listen to different like audiobooks, you can listen to different things to try to support or discredit your theory. No, why not?
No, yeah, it's definitely something I've been taking time into. I just worry that when explaining it, that people will just give you a utter quizzical look of like, what are you talking about?
Oh, I mean, listen, I just wrote a book about how critical race theory is really part of a Marxist agenda to initiate a communist takeover of the country. So, I understand the notion that people are going to look at you weird. But you know what? If you believe in your ideas and you can back it up, then that's all that's required is that you back it up. And it makes sense. And you can probably do that.
All right. Well, anyway, I have to get going. But I really appreciate the time to talk, Carol. And I appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, and good luck with your research. I appreciate it. Come back and let us know some more sometime, okay?
Thanks.
All right. Well, we've got a couple more call-ins. It looks like Meg. Meg, I know you were in the waiting room at some point. Okay, Meg, I'm going to put the invite back into the chat, but this is only for Meg because I already have 2 other people and I do want to go to bed at some point. And I told Victor I was going to be downstairs like 3 hours ago and I never came downstairs. And I'm sure, like, I told him, I was like, Victor, I'm just going to film this last video. And then I did a live stream for 3 hours. So... Tanner says, I'm spiritual and I have been thinking about the whole end times thing. Any spiritual thought about what's happening in the world seems satanic. From my beliefs, from my spiritual perspective, I think that what we're going through is necessary. And I think it's going to ultimately lead to greater self-empowerment because people have to understand what it means to have freedom taken away from them in order to really appreciate what it is. And sometimes people have to have their backs pushed against the wall. And so that's what I think we're going through on a spiritual level. I think this is all happening because we need to step the F up. That's just me. All right, we have Emily L and then XZX and then Meg if she makes her way back into the room. Emily, what's up?
Good evening, Carlin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great. Give my shout outs to Victor. We love him.
I will.
All of his patience. And I'm just like you. I've had it with the Republicans, and my entire family is Republican. Well, except for the crazy sibling that I have. But other than that, I'll be quick tonight. I just wanted to shout out my recent victory, and you'll probably hear this again tomorrow in locals. But I finally was able to stand up for what I believe in, and I and my 8-year-old son, who is a self-proclaimed libertarian, wanted to go to the school board meeting because he is fed up with masks, just like I am. And he, of course, the science doesn't back it. And I did put this in the chat, but I did want to shout it out to everybody just to kind of encourage everyone to continue the fight and stand up for what you believe in. So we went, I spoke in front of the school board meeting. Now I will say that I do kind of live in a red area. But there is some people who still wanted to hold a lot of the school board, especially the district superintendent, who we all just love so much, wanted to uphold the CDC guidelines as far as masking all the children. And so a line of us got up and said, science doesn't back what you have. We provided the data. My kid got up. He actually spoke at the school board meeting and said, we need to get back to normal. Masks aren't needed. And they took a vote that night and we won.
Yay!
So, yep, they gave it back to the parents. They said all masks are optional, leave it up to the parents. And I haven't had a win in so long. And with all the CRT stuff, which is what I'm doing on the 12th, when I go in to speak against that, I just wanted to put that out there that I'm finally had a win and we're very excited about that.
Yay! Now, did you get the speech on camera?
Yeah, I know. Actually, my mom took a photo and that was just for the mask, but I do want to get the whole speech recorded on the 12th when I go for CRT so that we actually have that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's great. And I love that your son spoke up too. Was he proud?
Oh my gosh, he so was. He was so excited. He tells everybody, I went and we fought for it. And he tells his daddy and we're all libertarians and it's just great.
Yay. That's awesome news. I'm so happy that you had this win because I know you've worked so hard for it.
I have. And, and it's just, I feel like I've been, just kind of stinted or like stuck behind doors everywhere I go, especially with school. It was just nice to have this, but I won't hold up any more of your time. I do know you need to get to bed. I just wanted to shout that out.
Well, I appreciate that, Emily. Congratulations to you, and please congratulate your son for all of us. Tell him we're all very proud of him.
His name is Gabriel, so he will be very excited. I'll show him this video.
Oh, yay, Gabriel. Well done, my friend. Well done.
All right. Thank you so much, Carl, and have a good night.
You're welcome. All right. Well, we've got one more for right now. Meg, I did drop the link back in the chat if you want to make your way back in. I hope you do make it before we wrap up for tonight. But now we're going to go to XZX. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just want to have my 2 cents on how to fight critical race theory and the whole thing.
Sure.
I feel like one of the most important things in this fight is to build a support network for all of the people standing up.
Yes.
Because, I hear a lot of people talking about stand up for what you believe in, but then people need to feed their families, and I would say that the average person is a coward. So I feel like to make more people stand up, we need to make it easier to stand up.
Yeah, so I agree. So one of the things I'm going to be working on with this book that I just bought, or the book that I just wrote, is so I'm going to be doing I already have a locals community, but I'm going to be creating like a website and also hopefully an app, because I want to make it fun for people to fight back, and I want to give people ways to connect with each other when they're fighting back, so they have that. But I totally agree. Like, I think a support system is number one, and it doesn't even need to be on the internet. I think one of the very best things people can do is just find families in their communities, find other parents, find other people who are against this stuff, because most people are against it. And I think those support systems really can't be underestimated.
Yes, I was thinking that you're probably going to say something about it in your upcoming book, because to me, it seems like it's such an important topic. So for me, I just came out of college. I've been to liberal arts schools. I've been to universities in blue states, and I'm now going to an Ivy League institution.
Oh, wow.
So
How's that?
I had to keep it to myself, to say the least, even being a bisexual immigrant of color. So.
Yeah, you don't get oppression because it sounds like you're male. I don't want to misgender you, but it does sound like you're male.
I am.
So you don't get any points.
Well, I'm also Asian, so I'm only a person of color when it's convenient for them.
Well, that's exactly right. Like, Asians are the most confused. It's like sometimes you're oppressed and sometimes you're an oppressor. Like, how do you even know on any given day? Especially in college. Like, you're definitely an oppressor, probably.
Indeed. So the problem for me was then, because I'm an international student, if I speak up and someone decide to plot something against me, I get some kind of disciplinary action against me, I'll probably get deported to China. So, because I need my visa, which is tied to my school, to be in the country. Mm-hmm. So to me, it feels like it has felt like too much to lose for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've got to be smart about it. You have to be smart. Like make sure you're doing what you can to stay here, making sure you're doing good in school, you're staying there, you're keeping involved in your commitments. Are you in my locals community?
Not yet. I'm probably joining tonight.
Yeah, so I want you are you on Twitter?
Yes.
Send me a DM on Twitter and tell me that you're XZX, and I'm gonna give you a promo code to join locals, so you get like some free months. Because like I want to do that because like you're in college, first of all, so I'm sure you don't have like all sorts of money running around. But also like I like it is a really supportive community, and you can come to our community Zooms and like focus on what you need to in college, and then you can come and blow off steam in locals and have lots of friends and supporters.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else for tonight?
Robin DeAngelo is a white supremacist, and that's all.
Yes, she is. Thank you, XZX, and we'll look forward to chatting in locals, okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. All right, guys. Well, I don't see Meg here. Meg, I'm sorry you didn't make it back in, but maybe we can do call-ins another time. Guys, that's all we have for tonight. I did not expect to be on the internet all night tonight, but isn't that always how it goes with impromptu late night streams? Again, if you want to join my locals, kb.locals.com/support. We do have a Zoom call tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Tomorrow on this channel, I will also be doing a live stream at 2 p.m. with Dennis Pratt, and we're going to talk about why Joe Jorgensen tweeted Black Lives Matter as the Libertarian presidential candidate, and also how this stuff is perceived in the Libertarian Party. And we're going to get his thoughts on that. Dennis is the best. So please join us at 2 p.m. for that live chat. And then, of course, Joshua and I are going to be back tomorrow, 9:30. If I haven't pissed Joshua off, I don't know. We had our meeting today, and I may have pissed him off, but I think we're still on for the show tomorrow. So tomorrow, 9:30 for Nothing Remotely Controversial. Again, I will see everyone in locals tomorrow night if you're in that community. And yeah, let's keep going, guys. Have a good one. Bye.